Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Healing Connections podcast. This is Emmy Vadnais, and today I want to talk with you about mind-body practices for pain. Pain is one of the main reasons that people enter into the healthcare system. It can really impact a person's ability to function and to engage in activities of daily living. It can impact a person's mobility. It can also affect stress levels, anxiety, depression, mental health, and it certainly can be a vicious feedback loop where stress and anxiety and depression may exacerbate pain. It can also increase a person's use of substance use. And a quote from Dr. Herb Benson says that 60 to 90% of doctors' visits are in the mind-body stress-related realm that are poorly treated by drugs and surgery. And I hope that we're on our way of shifting this. I do see more healthcare practitioners being aware of how the mind and the body can interact. In fact, really they're one. The mind and the body is not separate. What can happen in the mind can affect the body, and what can happen in the body can also affect the mind. So I want to share with you 5 mind-body practices today. And of course, there are many more. I can't touch on all of them today, but the ones that sort of stand out to me that I think can possibly be the most helpful. At the same time, you have to find and explore what works for you as well. And by all means, if you are dealing with some type of pain that's been lasting for a while, and certainly if you're dealing with any chest pain, of course, get that checked out right away. This is not a substitute by any means for medical care. At the same time, a lot of people do go to the doctor and are evaluated, and a lot of times a person is not diagnosed with anything. Or in some cases, they might be under or overtreated. So, and even if you are dealing with some type of physical health condition, these approaches might help to add and become a more beneficial additional resource to what you're already doing. That's why it's called complementary or integrative health. And this is all just part of what can add to helping you to feel better. So the first one I want to mention is guided imagery. And when we look at, again, not all, it could be that you're dealing with some type of significant condition that does actually need surgery, or there's some biomechanical condition that needs physical therapy. But in a lot of cases, when we're dealing with, which a lot of people deal with, is back pain, neck pain, having headaches, upset stomach, feeling tense. This is related to the stress response, or can be related to the stress response, which is also known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. And, it doesn't take, anybody really as an expert to tell you, and I'm sure you know that our society is very fast-paced and very driven to success and those kinds of things. And a lot of that can be very good. A lot of us are juggling a lot in our lives. There's obviously with the pandemic and just all sorts of pressures, we need ways to unwind that are healthy for us. And of course, meditation, a prayer can be very beneficial, which I've talked a lot about. But I want to highlight guided imagery. And in my practice, I've used this a lot because it's very user-friendly. And there are many different types of guided imagery techniques to use. And one that I have found to be probably the most palate cleansing, meaning that it can relax the mind probably the most quickly, is a special place guided imagery. And if you've listened to any of my other podcasts or videos or interviews or read anything that I've written, you'll know that I've talked a lot about this. And the reason why I bring it up and keep bringing it up over and over again is because I've worked with so many people who have been in truly situations where they were not responding, maybe even to pain medications, even when I was working in the hospital, even to people who I've worked with in my own private practice who maybe are just dealing with kind of everyday stress. And this approach has really helped, often in under 15 minutes, just to get that stress down. And it's sort of like having a mini vacation. And so please do check out on my YouTube channel. I've got this up for free. So the guided imagery is basically using all of your senses to have an experience. And the one that I would recommend starting with, if you're dealing with pain or just kind of want to generally, unwind the mind and the body, is the special place, because it really is like having a mini vacation. And you can be the most successful with that special place imagery if you first start out with doing some simple breath work. There's many different types of breath work techniques out there. A simple one is just abdominal breathing. And I also have that on my YouTube channel, where essentially you have the abdomen come out as you breathe in and then come back toward the body as you breathe out. And even just doing that for maybe a minute or two, really slowing the breath down, maybe even increasing the exhalation, so it's a little bit longer than the inhalation, can start to shift the nervous system from the fight or flight or freeze to the more rest and digest, which is known as the sympathetic nervous system, is the stress response to the parasympathetic. So we're getting things to kind of slow down in the body. Then it can be really helpful to engage in a progressive body relaxation. And I also have that on my YouTube channel. You can listen to that as well. And then the special place is simply just imagining being someplace special or peaceful that maybe you've been to before or would like to visit, that's maybe real or an imaginary place. And to just simply imagine that you're there and to use all of your senses. And when you listen to the recording that I have on YouTube, you'll notice that it prompts you to engage all of your senses. So for example, I'll ask you to notice, what do you see in this place? What might you hear? What might you smell, taste, and how do you feel? And to really just immerse yourself in that experience. And it really is profound in a lot of cases how this can really slow down that stress. And it seems that in a lot of cases, that stress is correlated with how we are perceiving physical pain and also emotional pain, which, yes, I would say that emotional and physical pain go hand in hand. And I'll get to that in just a moment. So that's the first one I'd suggest, is guided imagery. The second one is yoga. Now, yoga is, when we think of yoga, I think a lot of us first think of the yoga poses, the postures, also known as the asanas, which have tremendous benefit. But yoga really has 8 limbs to it. And maybe you already practice yoga, maybe you're even a yoga teacher. But I think it really is something to, if you haven't explored it, to maybe take. When I first started taking yoga classes, well, seriously, I started taking a restorative yoga class. And this is sometimes referred to as Yin Yoga, which is really that calming, relaxing yoga where your teacher will assist you to use props such as bolsters, blocks, and blankets to get in various positions where your body, you feel supported and maybe even cradled, where you would rest in these positions for 5 or maybe even 10 minutes. And it's such a relaxing experience. And with a great teacher, once they know like your health background and maybe what kind of challenges you have, because everybody is different. Some people are just going to go right into yoga poses and it'll just be super easy and effortless. And some people, those particular poses are just more challenging, and that's okay. So your yoga teacher will be able to modify those poses for you in the ability that you're able to do them. And so what's so great about yoga is that it pairs the breath and concentration, so that focus with the mind, that's the mind connection, with how your body is positioned. And what's so beautiful, I think, about yoga, and there's many things I love about it, but one of the things I love about it from a physical perspective is that it helps to stretch and elongate the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, while simultaneously it can help strengthen or tone. Now with the Yin Yoga, you're not going to be doing as much strengthening and toning, but that's kind of a nice warm up for those other poses that you can move into and progress into, so that if you want to get more into some of the standing poses and so forth. And while you're resting in those poses, you can really tune into the body. And so that really helps us come into the present moment, not thinking about the past or the future. And really sinking into how we feel in the body, listening to our body so that we can adjust the pose, so that if it's too strenuous, we would maybe pull back from that particular range of motion that we are in, so that it can be more comfortable for us. So I think that yoga can help with pain, because a lot of times, now I've been a massage therapist for 20 years as well. A lot of times, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute, we can have muscles in our bodies that are weak. And it's not uncommon for people, when they are doing physical exercise, sometimes training, whether you are just for your own movement and health, or even maybe an amateur or professional athlete, we can overtrain certain body muscle groups, and we can start to get imbalanced. Now, our bodies are not completely symmetrical, but what yoga can do is it can help you to align those various parts of the planes of the ways that our bodies move in various positions, so that we can strengthen the different parts of our body. So for example, we have muscles at the front of the arm that help to flex and also to extend the arm. So to flex, to bend forward, to bend it together, and then to extend, which is to straighten. And you want to have a balance between, it's called a co-contraction. You want to have a balance between those flexor and extensor muscles. And that just ripples throughout the whole body, those different muscle groups. And I think yoga really shines with being able to assist with that. I do also myself lift weights, so I'm not just doing yoga, but you can use your body as a form of resistance to help strengthen the muscles, which can also then strengthen the bones, which as we age is so important, because our bone density can change and we're more prone to having injuries. Actually breaks at the bones or sprains or other kinds of unfortunate events. And so we can prevent that from happening, which obviously can also lead to pain is when we have those conditions. And I understand the body, as time goes on, there's some things we can't prevent everything. But I think there's a lot that we can do by establishing these more healthy habits and routines. And if you are dealing with pain, I think that you might find, again, with a good teacher, by doing yoga and they know where you're having challenges, they can support you with particular postures that focus on those areas that are affecting you, so that you can get those great stretches, maybe even some twists. A lot of people have back pain, and a lot of people don't do twists in the trunk. They don't, that's that rotation. And so we can start getting really tight, and we want to be able to stay limber. And that's really important to kind of think about maybe being like the branch or the tree in the wind, so that we can move with the wind of life versus being sort of rigid. And then, things can be negatively impacted. So the third one I want to mention is massage and body work. Now, I think that it's good to have these self-care routines, but it's also, like being able to do your whatever techniques, mind-body practices that work for you. But sometimes it's really nice to receive. And sometimes, even despite our best efforts, we can still have knots and tension in our body that just don't release. And I do think that as humans, we are meant to have physical touch, and we do need support and that nurturing attention. Also, you might have, with COVID, I think hugs, hugs are so good for us, and they release that oxytocin that can help us to feel connected and bonded and less alone. You might be in a relationship and maybe you are getting physical touch or intimacy, but it's not exactly the same to have somebody be able to provide that therapeutic type of massage and body work that, again, is targeted to and custom tailored to what's going on for you with your mind and your body. And so if you have never received a full body massage, I would highly recommend to seek that out. Maybe that's something you already do. And I know there is an expense to that. And so maybe there's a massage school in your area. Maybe you can find a massage student to work with you so that that can be more affordable for you. And also there are other forms of body work. And again, I'm not going to list all of them here, but some ones that come to mind are acupressure. So being able, you can even, look up different acupressure points for different parts of the body, and you can just hold different points. And that can be related to the energy pathways that are on like the map of acupuncture. And they can also help to open up the blockages, which I believe is correlated. The tension in the muscles is very much correlated to those energy pathways. And so there's a lot you can do with self acupressure and even self massage. But again, it's nice to have somebody do that to you so that you can just really let go, really unwind, and just be and receive in that experience. And then, of course, I'm also a nationally certified, American board certified reflexologist. And I also have taught people I've prepared them for their national exam in reflexology. I'm a huge fan of it. I've spent the most doing foot reflexology. And in fact, I've used that a lot in my practice. And when I was in the hospital working with people all over on all the different units from med-surg to cardiovascular, ICU, oncology, I did a lot of foot massage as well as back massage and foot reflexology, which is sort of like mini acupressure on the entire foot. And so again, if you've never experienced a reflexology session, I would highly encourage you to check that out. I do have a few videos on my YouTube channel of some basic massage. I have a back massage, a hand massage, and I have a whole foot reflexology routine. So if you want to partner up with a friend or a loved one or your partner and practice with each other, I would say that you can check that out. Just be really careful. You might want to get out like a little anatomy of the area you're working on, just so you can know where the bones are, so you're not pressing into bone and bony prominences, and listen to your partner, because you never want to have them experience pain. And so if you are going in and getting a massage or any type of body work, the practitioner hopefully will invite you to tell you that if you experience any discomfort or pain anytime during that session, to have you let them know. And then the fourth one I want to share of a mind-body practice to help with pain is mindfulness. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of physical pain often can start with mental or emotional pain. So it can start with our thoughts and our emotions. There are many things that you can do to help you with that, with worry, with fear, with anxiety. Maybe you're even dealing with depression or grief. And by all means, work with a therapist. Again, these are just some ideas to think about, maybe even talk with your therapist about if you're not familiar with them. But the reason that I like to mention mindfulness is that so often I think a lot of what we experience, in fact, Candace Pert, who wrote this book, Molecules of Emotion, she talked about how the body is a subconscious of the mind, meaning that what we manifest in our body can be directly related to how we are experiencing our own consciousness. And oftentimes we have thoughts, emotions, beliefs that are repressed in our psyche and our consciousness, and it can manifest physically. And this is why I believe there are more heart attacks on Mondays. That's just one example, a significant example, but just to kind of illustrate the point. So the more that you can find healthy ways to work with those what we might perceive as negative or uncomfortable thoughts, emotions, maybe even unresolved grief or trauma, I think that being able to take that through a mindfulness process of observing these parts of you with love and compassion. And while you're doing mindfulness, you can actually observe not just the mental component, but also the body, right? Because how do we know we have emotions? We know we have emotions because we experience them in the body. We can have thoughts, but also, if you were to think about how do I know if I'm feeling happy? Maybe it's because you feel a lightness in your body, or a joy, or maybe like a rush of energy. Maybe how do you know if you're feeling sad? You might feel a sense of heaviness. You might get a choked up feeling in the throat because maybe you're resisting crying. So through mindfulness, you can connect with the loving, compassionate, accepting part of you and observe these parts of you with unconditional love and unconditional acceptance. And when you do that authentically, being in what's referred to as like the dual awareness, about 50% with the discomfort and 50% with the loving part of you, bringing that light to it. If you sit with that and truly not judge this part of you, this part tends to transform. And I kind of think of it as bringing in light. I mean, it really is bringing light into the darkness. It's like shoveling out the crap and bringing in the light. Okay. And if you sit with that and give yourself 10 minutes, 20 minutes or so, and repeat that maybe weekly or a few times a week, you'll probably start to shift some of these uncomfortable parts of you and probably even impact how it might be affecting you physically. And I also do have a mindfulness YouTube video you can listen to for free as well. Then the last one, number 5, that I'll share with you, a mind-body practice for pain, is intuitive development. Now, the reason that I'm highlighting intuition is because I have found in my life, and lots of people I've shared this with, that when you can connect with and trust and have more confidence with your intuition, you're going to be less stressed in life. You're going to be probably a bit more relaxed. You're probably going to feel more confident. You're going to make choices more easily and effortlessly in your life. You're going to find that you're more creative in life, and that your motivation will likely increase to accomplish the various maybe dreams or goals you have, so that you can move toward those goals. Your relationships will likely improve, your relationship with yourself and also others. Your spirituality will likely increase. Now, you might already have a spiritual practice, and if not, and it's not a requirement. You certainly, even if you're atheist, but for those who are inclined to this, when you connect with your intuition, a lot of people find that they're connecting to something greater than themselves, or maybe the all or the oneness of which we are all a part. And that can greatly strengthen our sense of isolation, separation, feeling alone or loneliness. And there's just so many great benefits with that. And again, that can help you really overall to boost those feel-good chemicals in the body, which is what all of these different practices, mind-body practices I'm sharing with you today, can ultimately do, which is what we all want to feel, right? We want to feel good. And again, I recognize that there are other ways that you might need to be served, or you might need to seek out in healthcare to support yourself, but just know that these are great time-tested approaches. They have scientific research behind them to help you to live a healthy lifestyle, to perhaps, in a lot of cases, prevent disease. And even if you are going through, and I hope you're not, but even if you are going through some type of significant health condition, some type of significant grief or loss, that I promise you that by engaging in these mind-body practices, you're going to have an easier time. It's going to support you more. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed these mind-body practices for pain, for emotional and physical pain. And do check out those YouTube videos for guided imagery, yoga, massage and bodywork, reflexology, mindfulness, and intuitive development. Of course, I've got my book, Intuitive Development, How to Trust Your Inner Knowing for Guidance with Relationships, Health, and Spirituality, with a beautiful foreword by Jeffrey Mishlove. And I hope that it helps you, and certainly drop me a line. Let me know how it's going. And until next time, be well. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.